It's really come a long way, and I was glad to be one of the people working on it. I work for Hit Entertainment as one of the show's writers. I still work for Hit, but I no longer work on the actual show since Mattel has recently bought Hit. They are completely changing the show into something called Thomas and Friends Big World Big Adventures, which I am pretty sure is going to be a total failure. The main reason why I stopped working on the show was because of my two favorite characters, Edward and Henry, got booted, only to be replaced by two new female characters which I hated. Mattel thought it was better this way because the Steam team was unbalanced in terms of gender. Only one female engine, 7 male. However, I thought this was a horrible idea because Thomas and Friends already had an almost equal audience of male and female viewers, thus rendering the addition of these characters completely pointless besides benefiting the plot, which is Thomas going on an adventure around the world with one of the female characters. Instead of working on the show, I created individual shorts with a group called Close Co-workers, which are most often focused on Edward and Henry rather than Thomas. They aren't aired on TV, but they were uploaded to YouTube for a short time. Anyway, enough of that. It's time to get to the point of this story. It was March 5th, 2015. The adventure begins. My favorite Thomas and Friends special has just been released 2 days prior, and I was proud to actually help the movie myself. That day, I was ordered to look for a certain file related to an unfinished script for an upcoming episode. While browsing through a bunch of documents about the show, within a folder then contained various deleted scenes, unfinished animation, various transcripts, and prototypes, I discovered a file called Thomas and the Unfinished Bridge, restricted. I double-clicked on it, but got a message saying that a password was needed to access this file, which I didn't know. This got me confused. I kept track of all the Thomas and Friends episodes, both old and new, and I knew that there wasn't one called Thomas and the Unfinished Bridge. I asked my boss about this document. "Oh, that," he said, seemingly slight concern. In 1986, an episode was going to be made called Thomas and an Unfinished Bridge, but it was never aired. "Why?" I asked. "Well, it was supposed to be a regular episode," my boss explained. The episode was produced as a finale to the second season. For what I was told, the episode was supposed to happen like this. Thomas was taking a VIP on a tour of Sodor when his brakes began to fail and he speeds towards down the unfinished bridge until Edward saw him and managed to stop Thomas by coupling up to the coach and applying his brakes. Sort of like the episode Old Iron. Somebody working at the company made a draft of the episode and sent it to the show's main creators in a VHS tape. I think the guy's name was Eric. However, the company noticed some graphic things in the draft. They fired the person who made it and canceled the entire episode. But why, I wondered. I don't know, and I don't want to either. I've never seen this episode myself, nor do I plan to. And I don't know what the password is to that file you showed me, my boss answered. "And what happened to the VHS tape?" I asked. "I've been told that the company kept it for a while, but it was stolen by someone, possibly by Eric himself. Nobody knows where it went," he said. This was sorta creepy. I should have ignored this Thomas and the Unfinished Bridge thing, but my curiosity often overpowered me in my life, and this was one of those occasions. When I got home that same day, I searched eBay for anything called Thomas and the Unfinished Bridge. Surprisingly enough, I actually found an old VHS tape with that name being sold by an account which had the username of a bunch of random characters, letters and numbers specifically. I found this odd and thought maybe I should have stopped there, but my curiosity got the better of me again. I ordered the VHS tape. It took 8 days for the tape to arrive before it finally did on March 13th, Friday the 13th. What an odd coincidence. I connected an old VCR I had in my closet to my TV and inserted the tape into my player. What was on the tape began to play. What I saw was way too scary, dark, and depressing for a children's show. It started off normally enough, with a shot of Thomas chugging through the forest happily, carrying a coach full of passengers behind him. There were two things that were slightly off. Though, first off, there were no narration, and even though there was narration in practically every other episode of the show. And second, instead of pulling Annie and Clarabelle like he usually does while transporting passengers, Thomas was pulling a coach that resembled a red coach Spencer would pull from season 7 onwards. The episode then showed Thomas approaching a station, presumably the one where he would usually drop off the special passengers. He tried to apply his brakes, but they failed. That's exactly what my boss said what was supposed to happen. Thomas went straight down through the station, unable to stop as the people on the station gave confused looks. This classic runaway theme used in the show during situations similar to these started playing. Next, there was a shot of the front of Thomas. There was a scared expression on his face. Then a shot from behind Thomas appeared. It showed him passing a danger sign, the same one used in the episodes Down the Mine and Percy Takes a Plunge. This episode was already slightly intense for kids, but it didn't seem too bad yet. Then there was a shot of the passengers inside the coach. They were all screaming in terror, and their screams seemed realistic enough, as if it was an actual recording of people screaming in a large room. Later, a wide shot showed Thomas passing a siding where Edward was resting. Edward noticed what was happening and sped onto the track, going towards Thomas. Soon, he got to the coach. However, there was no one there to couple Edward up to. This was a serious problem. There was another shot of inside the coach with more realistic screams. Then there was an extreme wide shot showing Thomas getting dangerously close to the unfinished bridge. Then there was a shot inside of Thomas's cabin. His driver said, "The brakes are working again." By far, it was the only speaking line in the entire episode besides the screams. What was more odd was that the voice didn't sound like it came from Ringo Starr or George Carlin. Then in show Thomas, he was probably supposed to apply his brakes, but he didn't. Instead, he smiled and sped up even faster. Now things were getting seriously messed up. The runaway theme began to lower in pitch, becoming distorted and demonic almost. With screams playing in the background, Thomas began to laugh. Then, as I watched in horror, he plunged straight over the side of the bridge with the coach. I saw Edward right behind him, barely avoiding the end of the bridge. Thomas's driver and fireman were shown to have jumped clear before he went overboard. Thomas and the coach landed into a bunch of rocks, getting battered before falling into a stream. There was one more shot of inside the coach, now half submerged in water. Dead bodies were floating within the coach. The screen faded into static for about 10 seconds before a new scene was shown. Edward was watching in terror as Sutapa had used a blowtorch to take off the wretched Thomas' face, which showed an expression of pure pain and horror. Tears were running down Edward's cheeks. Then Sutapa Head took off his face, which immediately became lifeless. "You deserve this," much more, Sir Topperhead said very angrily. 10 more seconds of static before another scene appeared. Edward was in the smelter shed pushing a flatbed, which Thomas' remains were on. It's a shame it had to end this way, Edward murmured. I watched as a claw came down and grabbed him. It pulled him upwards and dropped Thomas' mangled remains into a huge pool of molten metal. He melted in the pool on screen. His face melted last, which was horrifying enough. But even worse was that just before his face melted, it could even be seen that it still had his expression of happiness. Then the episode faded to static for good. I took the VHS tape out of the VCR and stored it into the attic of my home. Nobody would ever see this horrific excuse for an episode again. Later, I noticed that the username of the Amazon account, which sold me the tape, wasn't just random letters and numbers. It was something encoded in base 64. An encoded scheme that converted words into random letters and sometimes other characters. After running the username through the base 64 decoder, it came out as an URL for a website. When I visited the website, it was just a couple of sentences written on the blank page, and those sentences scared me. Children need to know what really happens in the world. I'll make sure it's not hidden from them.